The true quantifier that is most important isn't the success that other people measure it, and it isn't even the money. It's the success of your passion, and you're quantifying it. I'm afraid of this. It's a fearful thing. What happens is, if you can look at the other side of fear, it's excitement, and it is passion, and it is your potentiality. Everyone has that potential for greatness. Everyone has that potential for mastery. Are they willing to put in the work to achieve it? That's the question.
Welcome to the Top 1% Men podcast by LGFG Fashion House, where we interview millionaires and billionaires and other men who fit within the top 1% as verifiable by quantifiable metrics such as wealth, physical fitness, and other notable life achievements. On the Top 1% of Men podcast, participation trophies don't count and man buns not allowed. Hey, because we have this opportunity, it's so exciting for me. We used to have this podcast, we don't do it much anymore. It was called Top 1%. I actually did it with Russell Peters. It was so amazing. I got to ask Russell. But
you should do it at least once a month.
Oh, dude, it was amazing too, because we did it with Claudio Castagnoli from WWE. Eddie Hall was one of my favorites. That was insane. But I guess the kind of questions we ask is like, you kind of notice when you meet a lot of different successful people in different fields, they might be doing different things, but the principles are always the same.
Yeah.
So I guess if I could ask you, if you were to tell your 20-year-old self some things that really contributed to what success might be in terms of attitude, mindset, commitment, those kind of principles, how much do they play a role?
Well, they do play a role, and you have to know that it's purposeful. You have to go through life going that these things are of use to me, and there's nothing that can be more useful than failure. Nothing that can be more useful as an obstacle. Obstacles in your job, in your life, in your personal life, and when you want to achieve something, those obstacles are nothing but opportunities. And if you use those opportunities, those obstacles, then you'll make decisions in your life, and things will come to you because they're built on something solid. Because failure is the step behind you. And that's critical to have a step behind you so you don't fall all the way down. But it's you know where it is, and then you keep moving forward. So that's really important to focus on those things. I would say that is critical. What was the other thing we were talking about?
Well, I guess I wanted to elaborate on that. Would you say that before you were good at the thing that you're known as being good at, that you are known as being really like one of the best at, were you bad at it before?
It came easy to me, and then it became really hard.
Why is that?
Well, it became easy early, so it gives you that serotonin happiness hit. Like, oh, that could be good. And then it's enough, and then you have to work. It becomes a craft. So some things that are natural for people pretty early, making people laugh, was for me, and acting came easy. But from that easy, then you have to make it your craft. And that craft has to come tools with it. You have to work at it. And then you become passionate about it. And from that passion, great work comes. Now, part of the huge success you have to be careful of, because you could say you can quantify it as money, quantify it as how famous you are, but the true quantifier that is most important isn't the success that other people measure it, and it isn't even the money. It's the success of your passion and staying in your passion as long as you can, because it's in that passion. Because money comes, money goes, fame comes, fame goes. What people think about you isn't as important what you think about yourself. But that passion, when you're in it and you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you go like, I got to do this. That's the passion. If you can keep that and maintain that, and it comes in waves, whatever, but when it's happening, you use it. And that's the success, to recognize that and have that, and to use that as a stepping to whatever success you want. And then the money comes naturally from being that passionate about something, because people will come to you because they go, what's that person doing? That seems fun. And that's how, and then forgetting it and remembering. Because when my career was in the toilet, it was because I wasn't having fun anymore. I wasn't that passion. So that's where I had to adjust and figure out something else to do. And to me, like one of the things that I started out with, I never thought I'd go back to do, was stand-up. And stand-up was something that I needed to do for me. And then when you do something for yourself and you decide to become great at it, then that's when you can truly become what you're meant to be. you know?
How important is that? Because you're not always going to be excited about the thing you're doing. Even within the thing you're passionate about, sometimes you get into the minutiae of the work, and there's a lot of tedium, right? So how important is discipline? How important is it for you?
Discipline is the house that allows you to have the opportunity to get passionate again. It is the place. Discipline is the building blocks to allow you to have success. So there is that, the idea of putting yourself in a position to have that bursts of, whether they call it inspire, which comes from the Greek, which means God's breath. So the work has to happen. And if you work really hard and you put yourself, God doesn't whisper to you. They say inspire is not God's whispering, not telling you what to do, not even a push. He doesn't, it's just this. God's breath. And you go, what was that? Now, what allows that to flourish and allows to come in is the discipline, is the work. And that it does come to those who work hard. And to pay attention to that, like, what was that? Ooh, I got it. And that's something that I key on, is I don't look for big signs. I look for that little thing and take that little thing with discipline and follow it to its course. And from that, at the end of that course, through disciplined work, that allows the of whatever creativity is. Creativity is destruction. And it's getting rid of the old and bringing the new. And that comes creativity, that burst, that life comes from destruction. The destruction is wasted time. The destruction is, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to get excited about something else. Or I've moved on from that. Or it's from like, okay, now what? So you just have to be careful that you're not the impetus for the now what. It's got to come to you from putting in the work. And then it's going to come when you least expect it. And those who give up, it's because they were just right there. And those who keep going, like, you won't even know you're there because you are there. And that's the artistic journey. It's clear, but it's not clear. It's supposed to be, even the way I described it is, it has a mystery to it. And it's supposed to be mysterious. Because it wouldn't be, if you just got to do this, and then success. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be fulfilling. Like,
I always feel like, what you're talking about, like rediscovering the passion, moving forward again, because you destroy the old and you move into the new.
Yeah.
And whenever people find that they're, just like, I'm not growing, I'm like, it's because when you're not reaching that sort of inflection point, it's because you're just not good enough at the thing you're doing yet. That's what I've noticed. Like when people are unwilling to put in the work to get better at the thing they're doing and you get stuck, and then they see it as why I should be doing something else because I'm stuck. It's like, no, you just need to get better, man. That's how I see it anyways.
They're clinging to they're clinging to something, to the past, to avoid the fear of being successful.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah, because I'm so competent in this area, if I were to go here, I wouldn't necessarily succeed. So I'm just gonna, renege and stay here.
I might get really judged if I become successful. And they might find out.
Fear of success. Yeah.
They might find out that I'm a charlatan, that I'm a fake.
Right.
And so what that comes is low self-esteem. So the combination of low self-esteem can't have a place as long as you build upon it and know that you deserve it. You deserve to be successful if you work hard at it and you love what you do. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the world is going to accept that. But it's important to get over this idea that I don't deserve success or I'm afraid of it. And you're right, people will cling to what they know because there is no fear there. It's important to know that to embrace fear. And just I wouldn't say embrace fear, I would say to embrace uncertainty.
Right.
That you are categorizing as fear. So you're putting the unknown and you're quantifying it as, I'm afraid of this. It's a fearful thing. What happens is, if you can look at the other side of fear, it's excitement. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is passion. And it is your potentiality. But that if you can step back a little bit and look at the whole side, it wouldn't be fun without the fear. Mm. It wouldn't be challenging if you weren't afraid of something. Falling on your face. I mean, that's why it has to be one. So you have to be careful to be looking at the things with duality. That's why we have two. Right. We have two eyes. We don't have one. And our eyes point out because there's the duality, And it's important to have both. And they're both at the same time. But it takes a long time to realize that they're both at the same time. And it's actually not instructive for people to know about the duality early. Because it's just, focus on what you're excited about, and then see the people that make the leap naturally. It's like trying to explain tennis to somebody just by telling them and reading on a book. You got to just hit it. That's why it's important. So some knowledge comes in later. Because even if you tell them, even if they understand it in some way, they're not going to be able to, they can interpret it, but they're not be able to actualize it or put it in a useful way. So that's the kind of next level thing. That's like what Jordan Peterson does.
Yeah, sure.
You can understand it, but then you can actually apply it to your
Jordan
life.
calls it the invisible doors. So the way that he reduces it very succinctly and beautifully is he says that, like, if you do the thing that you're doing to the very best of your ability, then invisible doors will open. You can't predict those doors, and that's the concept of uncertainty. Yeah. And one thing when you were talking that it kind of came very clear is that I can't think of a better definition of failure than just certainty. Because failure is when you accept the thing you have, and that's settling, that's certainty, that's failure.
Well,
what else can there be, right?
There's another description of that same thing, though. As Alan Watts says, a predictable future that you can know is already the past.
Yeah.
So it's the unknowable. Otherwise, it wouldn't be interesting. That's why God put the apple in Eden. God wants shit to happen. He doesn't want it to be boring for you. He wants you to make your own choice.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it's difficult. And most people, while they can identify a greatness, because they have that potentiality. Everyone has that potential for greatness. Everyone has that potential for mastery. Are they willing to put in the work to achieve it? That's the question. Because they all have the potential. Otherwise, they wouldn't recognize it. When somebody recognizes your beautiful clothing and your joie de vivre about what you do, your passion for it. It's only because they have that potential too. Otherwise, they couldn't recognize it. It's why it's an extension of learning that I said out there and out in the front door. You don't learn anything new. It's an extension of something you do already know. So it's a kind of learning that is an adding to it. So it's important to know, because as far as teaching children, the idea that children don't know, it's just that they need to be, that part is okay to continue to explore. And that it's all okay. And that there are some places you have to be careful of, their physical well-being and some stuff but it's an extension of this stuff. And for emotional kids specifically, it's a specific outlet for them where they can go, this is a beautiful thing, not a negative thing. So if you approach it, what a wonderful thing. But you don't want a wonderful thing, it's just like cake. Your emotions are like cake. Beautiful, how wonderful it is. How a beautiful thing, but you can't have cake every day, otherwise it wouldn't taste good anymore. You get sick to your stomach. So in that sense, that emotion's a beautiful thing, but it's cake. So you have to control that cake. Right. And so I think with little kids, I think they can understand that. And they can also realize that they don't, that they can feel, for people who are particularly artists like yourself, it'd be natural that your kids would be artists, it's to feel, whenever we can calm them down, give them a safe space so that they can feel safe within that, so that they can learn to regulate it themselves. And that's a real telltale, artistic child.
I gotta say this for the people that watch it later. Like, it's so weird to me that I'm being called creative and an artist all the time now.
Yeah, because you are.
I've never thought that.
But
it's
so beautiful funny, because you're in
it means I'm in a flow state, basically. Because when people are identifying in you and they're saying, hey, that's actually something you're pretty good at. And I was like, really? Well,
let me tell you, right? When you start to recognize it, you're going to be stuck.
How so?
You're going to feel, because whenever you start taking the applause in and start to feel too good about yourself, it's because you stop growing.
Yeah.
Whenever you take the negative and what people shit on you and all the criticism, whenever you take that, it's because you're not growing. If you're constantly doing, like it was Andy Warhol said it the best, let them critique my other stuff. I've already moved on.
Yeah, what's interesting about that? I had this thought in the shower this morning. I have sometimes a profound thought, and at least I think it's profound because to me it's speaking. And the thought I had this morning in the shower that was like, well, interesting, is I realized that I don't actually like success. I like the chase.
Yeah, well,
and so, for me, I like
wary of that. I had the same way.
I like the chase.
But there is a particular emotional need there that you're expressing.
For
with
sure,
that.
100%. But I think that's a safety.
No, but it's good though, because
I move quickly,
But that push to be successful also comes from a place of at one point in your life of a lack of self-esteem in your childhood.
100%. Oh, I've identified that a super long time ago. I'm fully comfortable and okay with that.
But that also is what creates greatness.
That's literally. So was it you, Henry, that asked me in the car today or something? Like, what is it? Okay, somebody asked me that very recently.
But isn't this just like your child?
100%.
This is an extension of knowledge that you already know.
Yes, that's exactly right. No, but it's 100% an extension, and it's interesting because I've met a few people, and I suspect that their drive for success is not through some kind of a childhood inadequacy, and I find that so strange because I'm like, what's actually driving them? Because they seem to be more enlightened than me in that sense. There's something else there. I don't know what it is, but for me, I've always the people identified with that are very successful. I see it as a shadow of childhood insecurity.
It is. However, it's when that shadow insecurity becomes an art. And then you let go of the shadow thing, and you learned you got to heal that. You got to find a way to heal that. But your success is also a way of healing.
Bentley's healed it.
Yeah,
more Bentleys.
Money, Bentley.
More Bentleys. Yeah.
but finding a way to hug that inner child in there, it's true. I always thought that. What do you mean hug your? But just, you can actually. A beautiful thing that Gabor Mate taught me. He said, you can put your mother in that chair. You can put your child in that chair. You can imagine it. You could see it, smell the colors, see what he's wearing, see how he's feeling, and you can tell that kid, hey, it's okay. You did great. Now here's how to look at it this way. You could actually relive a moment again because your brain works in such that it doesn't differentiate between this new vision and the one that really happened. So it's a way of that's why it's important for traumatic stuff to retell it, so that it normalizes and takes the emotion out of it. So that's a technique that Gabor Mate uses.
I'm not ready to hug that child, and I'll tell you why, because I'm afraid.
You want to keep pushing?
Yeah, because I know that if I hug him, I might get satisfied.
Yeah, well, then when you get satisfied, you're going to be bored of it. Then you'll find something else.
I don't want to be satisfied, though. I don't want to. I know one day I will want to be satisfied.
Split the difference.
Yeah, Chris.
Reward yourself. Yeah. Reward yourself. You're very successful.
Thank you.
You do great work, and it shows. And your artistry is obvious, and it's respected by brilliant people.
Like who?
Seeing Jordan Peterson today.
Yeah, he was happy. That's good.
I mean, it was it's nice that his clothes fits his intellect, and you gave him that. So that's really good. Because what it does is it shows especially for men, that's self-care. Most men dress like they're either just about to go fishing or just getting back. And there's a real, if you look at anything from the 1920s and 30s, everyone was dressed, beautiful. Everyone had hats, everyone was beautiful. Yeah. And so it would be nice, it's nice a reflection too, just, even though he doesn't come up with this and probably wouldn't have, because he doesn't, in his intellectual pursuits, who would have
it's not that significant in the hierarchy of desires, obviously, and that's
but
okay.
It is, though.
Yeah.
It's just like he says, making your bed every day.
Sure.
It just tells you that I'm going to have an orderly day, as opposed to saying, I don't give a fuck.
Well, I say it, the way that I had a conversation with him about it, he said that the reason you dress up is not for yourself, but it's for everybody else and showing respect to society at large around you. Which is
beautiful.
Which
I
is
love
cool,
that.
but I told him I think there is another level to it.
Sure, there's always other levels.
And I'll tell you what I think that level is, because I don't know, maybe it's boring, but I find it pretty fascinating, is that, when you look at people that want to destroy society, like the left, it is what it is, they generally present themselves they present themselves intentionally as unfuckable as possible. That's actually what they do on purpose. No, but there's a reason for that, right? They're saying to the men, because the men that they don't like, they're going to cut their hair short, the women, they're going to put tattoos and nose rings, all this other stuff. And the reason they're doing it is saying, you have no power over me because I'm unfuckable, and the thing that you want from, I'm not giving it to you. This is that kind of thing, right? They're putting it out. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, what's interesting is the opposite of that is conservatism, and conservatism is by definition to conserve the existing institutions, right? By dressing well, we're not only paying the tribute to society around us, we're paying tribute to the great people that came before us that built the great institutions that we see around us today.
Right. The destruction of Western civilization.
Right.
Is what is part of that.
So that's exactly right. And so we actually counter that in a symbolic way by dressing the way that I dress this way very intentionally, because I'm paying respect to the great people to have provided this opportunity to me, right?
That's beautiful. Well, I'm going to have to get some nice pajamas after this.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Because I have the worst pajamas.
I was actually thinking about making myself some pajamas. I have anyways, I'll get that's
You're
a whole
right,
other
but it's
topic.
always looking, why not?
Yeah.
Look your best, be your best, get in the best shape.
Sure.
Get your brain, learn as much stuff as you can.
Yeah.
Why not? Make the best of this
That's what I
life.
tell Henry. This morning at 4:30 we woke up because we're jet lagged, and so I'm like, hey, you want to get breakfast? Yeah. So we went to IHOP, and but in Henry, he in his brilliance, he gets the sampler, which is a little bit of everything. Right? This guy doesn't skimp on anything, man.
That's good.
The sampler.
Thank you for this. So what a
So nice of you, thank you.
another adventure. The only thing we didn't get a chance to do was go to Erewhon.
Oh, that was the first one.
You're gonna go tomorrow.
I tell that story a lot actually about how you were telling the guys, you're like you have this thing, you're like, hey, thank you for showing up at work today. But it's actually, if they know, and you should assume they know who you are, it's a very nice thing to say, like, thanks for being here today. Because they're like, no, thank you for coming, right? And this one guy you said it to just looked like horrified when you said it. It was almost like he was offended. And we're, me and Harry are looking at each other like, I don't think the guy knows who Rob is. And then the manager comes out because the guy went to get his manager, and the manager's like, dude, do you know who this is? And it was so funny because you were trying to do something really nice for him. And he was just like, what's happening? What do you mean, thank you for being here? What does it mean?
But don't you see that the people,
interesting.
his interpretation is that people shouldn't be nice to me.
Oh, 100%. There's the conflict there where he's not used to people. He can't take a compliment.
He can't
That's
take
hard.
it in. He can't take in kindness.
Yeah.
We have a society of people now that can't take in kindness.
I struggled with that a lot in high school. And in fact, somebody told me something.
Protection mechanism.
100%.
I don't want to be crushed.
I had a mentor that said, when somebody tells you something nice about yourself, you say, thank you, that makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. And actually, after a while, it made me feel good.
Yeah,
it was a rewiring, right?
Well, it's a rewiring, right? Yeah. And there's that wonderful thing in Alcoholics Anonymous that they teach, and I was never in it, but I read it. And the one thing I really like is fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm going to fake it till I make it. I don't know if I feel like I belong in this. Sometimes as an actor, you go to a place, I don't know if I belong with all these Academy Award-winning actors or all this thing, and you're like, no, fake it till you make it. You deserve to be there. And just, okay, and it's useful, but it's also useful to have that, to want to push yourself into that low self-esteem, you needing that attention, but it's also nice to heal it.
There's your next movie plot. It's called Fake It Till You Make It. It's a little bit of a dark sardonic comedy. It's about a guy that has to go through Alcoholics Anonymous, but he's not an alcoholic. And you just have to figure out motivation for it to happen.
That's awesome,
There you go.
man.
That's a good plot.
I love it.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's a pleasure.